interest in developing the city and seeing the growth in the community as a resident.
Great. Anyone else want to jump in?
Noreen Bormett, I'm the director of Peotone Public Library. I've always thought the buildings downtown are beautiful. I'd like the rest of the town to look the same.
Awesome. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. So we'll have time later also to have discussion. So if you don't mind staying muted for now, but then later we'll have a chance to unmute and give some more information and feedback. So, all right, I'm gonna get us going on the slideshow. And our meeting agenda, just to give you an idea of what we're going to go through. Two main things: existing conditions and site analysis. Kind of talk about what's going on right now downtown and what we see. We very much are focusing on the right of way, so building facade to building facade, where people come into the downtown and interact with the public spaces, sidewalks, and those sorts of adjacent spaces that could become more public. So that's our main focus. Of course, understanding, what those uses are throughout. And then our second piece is going to be an idea image review. So we've been honing and working with small groups to kind of get the right images together. And that doesn't mean there are all the right ones for Peotone. That's what you're going to tell us tonight. Some of these images might be far-fetched, might not be what you want, or you might be kind of interested in something that you didn't think would be perfect. So we want to hear from you this evening, and we'll have a poll that everyone on can vote. If you are in a room with a lot of other people, you can log in on your phone and vote. So that, and if for some reason that doesn't work, you could also write it down and we can tally that in our totals later. So the whole idea is that your input is going to help guide us as we move towards creating concepts. So just to give you an idea, the next thing that we do after this is develop 3 different concepts. So what you're picking tonight isn't going to be the one thing. It's going to guide us towards 3 concepts that we're going to come back to the community and figure out which one's right, or maybe a combination of them and which one's right for Peotone. So that's our goal here. All right, let's get into it. Our project limits start at the north and the East Crawford and go down south to West Corning. From the west, we're at North First Street, and to the east, North Railroad Street, but we really go all the way to the railroad tracks. So at least that's our viewpoint that we're looking at. We're really not planning a lot of work on East Crawford itself, but the streets that go up to East Crawford all need to be included. And so we pulled all of that into those project limits. So what we've done so far is site analysis to understand what's going on in the downtown. So there are some really good pieces of information that we're able to garner, such as how many existing parking stalls are downtown. Right now there's 203 within the streets. And so that is these spaces along here and here and here. And so we looked at every street section, and there is an abundance of parking, which is really nice. The zoning overall is mostly B1, and then the railroad area is I1, limited industrial district. Some other important pieces, the existing lighting is about 60 years old. So it has, although it's still working, a lot of it has reached its useful life, and it has done a good job. The existing trees in the downtown are somewhat limited. The majority of them are crabapple trees, and we would say they're in fair to poor condition. A lot of them are really reaching their life expectancy, and in some areas you can see trees that maybe a stump that's already been removed. Let's see, I think I have a little bit. Here we go, site furniture. There is a very limited amount of site furniture on the streetscape. We have a couple bike racks and a few litter receptacles. There are some benches as well, but most of those have been put out by business owners rather than being like a public bench that is being used throughout the downtown. The street signs are probably one of the highlights of the downtown, that they're charming, they have a lovely curly Q, and they're very easy to read, and they're blue, which makes them a little bit different than most of the ones you see in Illinois. So that's kind of fun. There's a really good picture of one of our street trees. The other interesting thing we noticed is that although there are locations for potential landscape islands, there aren't actually any landscape. Most of them have been paved over at one time or another. And so we see areas that in some streetscapes like this, you might have seen some landscape plantings, but in Peotone right now, they have been paved. So here is a blow up of that those existing parking spaces. So really ample parking. And I understand that some of the parking spots, like many downtowns, were used for outdoor dining in part of the summer. So kind of a really interesting way that people said, we're going to fight the COVID, and we're going to still create some good public spaces. So that's nice that that could have happened. The other area where is really an opportunity is the existing railroad. All along Railroad Street, between the actual railroad line, is an area that is leased by the village. And as you probably all know, that parking goes on there. You can see some right here and these different pictures of it. This is really an asset. And I think when we look at the amount of parking that is right in front of the businesses, and we look at the amount of parking that can be used along the railroad, a minimum of 66 spaces, potentially 112 with good layout. We really have an opportunity here that you can build in your downtown and still be able to serve the mostly vehicular population that comes to the downtown. The other thing that we looked at in existing conditions is what is going on with both our pedestrian and our vehicular spaces. So those existing right-of-ways have a certain layout. And so we looked at this. Here's 2nd Street. So here's our streetscape from facade to facade. We have 18 feet approximately of angled parking, 12 to 13 foot drive lanes, and additional 18 feet, leaving us about 5.5 to 6.5 feet of pedestrian zone. When we think that oftentimes our street lights and maybe our trees are taking up the first couple feet, it's a very narrow pedestrian zone. And in fact, it's only around 12% of the actual right-of-way is allowed for pedestrians. And that probably we would call a challenge in this case, because it doesn't make it as welcoming as it could be because those are so narrow. It also doesn't allow a lot of room for outdoor dining that isn't in the parking spaces. And then here is Main Street, just to look at another section. The layout from street to street is very similar. It was designed and mimicked from street to street. And so again, we have the 18-foot or 17-foot angled parking, those 12-foot drive lanes. And in this case, we have a little bit wider sidewalk with about 9 feet and then 6 feet on the other side. So this does give us a little bit extra space. One of the other things that we noted is that a portion of what appears to be part of the right-of-way sidewalk is actually within the lot line of the buildings. It's paved as concrete, so it looks like it's part of the right-of-way, actually making that space seem a little bit wider, a little bit more welcoming, but it actually is owned by businesses. So we've definitely noted that. All right. And here you can see this is a summary of all of the streets, our parking areas, and the combined drive aisles, so going both ways, and the overall width. And there is quite a range of streetscape sidewalk where we have as narrow as 3 feet in certain areas, and 4 feet you can see up here, 6 feet here, and then the widest is 9 feet. So that gives you a lot of variety. I think we probably all could agree that that 9 foot, when you're walking right up against a building and this is all parked, even that can be a little bit narrow if cars are jutting out into this actual pedestrian area. Well, if you're walking here and you can see the cars already jumping into that space, that it can be really tight. These are, all right, before I go on to our ideas, I just want to open it up and see if anybody had a question or maybe something they want to bring up. We didn't want to go into too much detail here. We want to give you kind of that high level look, but maybe there's something you want to bring up or share with us about the existing conditions downtown.
9 feet, we've got 7.
Anybody? No? All right.
Hi. Really quickly, sorry for the delay, only because I have to unmute and video. This is Andrea Ahrens. Just to note, so again, we're with the Peotone Car Club. We host an antique car show with an extension of sidewalk. If we were to do that, it could affect our ability when we host the show. So because many classic cars are significantly longer in length. They are not, your standard compact cars. They're much longer. And we do park them straight instead of angled. So by by extending the sidewalk, that could possibly interfere with our ability to still park cars on either side of the street and yet still be able to drive them down the center as well.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Okay, good. No, that's really good information. And at some point, I think we will want to see how that layout looks, how you're actually laying out the cars, and then probably look at a few other towns and their car shows and see, complementary things, how we can make sure that that still works. And we haven't even decided what we're doing at this point.
Actually, we have drone pictures that we can forward you.
Awesome. That would be great. All right, thanks. Good stuff.
Hi, it's Rick with RT Sweet Treats. I noticed that you had 205 North 2nd Street in red.
Can you speak up just a little?
Can you hear me?
If you could speak just a little louder, that would be helpful, because I can see Ashley can't quite hear you.
I said that I noticed that you had 205 North 2nd Street. My construction company also owns that piece of property. You have that in red lines. What is that for?
Is that is an actual building?
Yeah.
Okay, the red lines were supposed to be vacant areas, so that must be a mistake.
Okay.
Tell me the address again. 205
North.
205. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll update that. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? All right. Here we go into the fun stuff. All right, these are all the components that we are going to go through. Paving, landscape, seating, parking, all of the rest of the ones in the list. And so you'll have a chance to look at all of these. And there may be a photo of something that you have thought really fits Peotone, or an idea from another town. So you'll have a chance to be able to add that at the end of each of these sections. All right, so how it works. There'll be a series of images. We'll go through those images. They're listed A, B, C. So if you have a pad of paper, you can write down maybe what you're interested in, things you like or things you don't like while we go. And then at the end of this grouping, say paving, which is our first grouping, get to the end of it, we'll have one slide that will show all of the images, A, B, C, D, E. So if you didn't write something down, hopefully all the images will come up and help you remember which ones you liked. And then we're going to let you vote on what you think is your favorite for Peotone. What fits the best? Okay, and then we'll have a little discussion after each one to make sure we hear from everyone throughout. All right.
And sorry, Michelle, before I just a quick housekeeping note. If you guys, when we get to the poll, it should pop up right on your screen. If for some reason it doesn't, you guys could use the chat function and we'll try to get it to work out.
Awesome. Thanks, Liz. All right, here we go. Paving, A. So specifically, this is a combination paving of using both concrete as well as a traditional brick. This is a clay brick in this case, and they're used for highlight areas. This is really a nice clean photo, see it, but this area could also be somewhere, maybe you add chairs and tables, but overall it's a concrete and brick. This is 100% brick. So everything from the back of curb to the facade of a building would be a brick pattern. And it could be, there's lots of different brick patterns, but that gives you the idea. Or all concrete. Maybe that fits better. We certainly have a lot of concrete today. You can use other elements to highlight, and maybe you feel concrete is the one. This is a concrete paver, so it's not clay paver, it's actually concrete, but it has a strong finish. The other thing I would say about this look is that it's a little bit more modern. So, you know, the bricks are a little bit longer, they're a little more like a plank. And this is a combination of concrete that is colored. So all of this concrete here, it's just poured concrete, but it's colored. And then with brick areas that are on the edge here and in the corners, and those are kind of highlight bricks. And then finally, this is another option where the main walking areas are all concrete, and just the edge areas where you might see lights or pots or even landscape beds, they are the highlight paver. So where you do more walking is concrete, where you do less walking and maybe more cafe or signage, that would be brick. So those are our 6 options. Which one do you feel fits the best for downtown Peotone to help guide us for those future concepts? And you can just press on your whatever image.
This is Rick again with Arctic Sweet Treats. Can you hear me?
Can you hear him, Liz? Because I
Yeah.
know he's talking, but I don't know what he's saying.
I don't understand.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Why I don't understand why it's not working. Anyway, what is the maintenance? Do you guys have a maintenance thing on, especially with pavers? I know the pavers you have a lot of maintenance with.
Yeah.
Michelle. Oh, did
Go
you
ahead,
get
Liz.
that?
Yeah.
Oh,
I have another thing to that. There's no stamped concrete with that colored concrete area, which is very low maintenance.
I'll be honest with you.
If I could just join in, the problem with the stamped concrete is it tends to fade a lot more. It tends to fade very quickly. It requires maintenance to be applications of things to put on it so it doesn't fade. Being in the landscape industry, I'm very familiar with both. The clay pavers will stay with that color all the time. They don't have a real high maintenance, so I don't know why you're saying they have a lot of maintenance.
Well,
You have more maintenance with stamped concrete.
The question was, what kind of maintenance is involved in that? That's what the question was.
The question, well, I think the answer to that, the clay pavers, you have very minimal maintenance with that. If done with a concrete and a brick both combination, you can have less of brick moving around because it's bounded by concrete all the way around. In the application for B, you're going to have more movement because you don't have a lot of barriers that are going to hold that together. That would require probably a little bit more maintenance.
Right.
So out of all these options, I think the look and the maintenance, A would probably be the best option.
Okay, thank you.
And I guess I'm going to concur from the standpoint of the stamped concrete. We do use that in some public outdoor situations, but for a streetscape, we want these walkways to be here 30 years from now, 40 years from now, and the stamped concrete will just not give you the look you want in that long period of time. So we tend not to use it in a streetscape setting, but a colored concrete can work. That doesn't have a stamp, it's an integral color. So that does work. And all the clay pavers and the concrete pavers with the heavy duty finish on top, we expect those both to have no problem with the 30 to 40 year time period. And putting a concrete base underneath does reduce your maintenance. That's not to say there's no maintenance. There's always maintenance. So, right. How are we doing with our quiz there, Liz?
Yeah. Oh, we've got is everybody voted? It looks like maybe there's about 10 people. I just want to make sure everybody who has voted or wants to vote has. So get those last couple votes in, and then we can share the results.
And I will not be voting, Liz, so don't miss me.
Okay. All right. Well, then we're probably pretty close. And Amy, were you planning to just tally up the people in the room there and then share them later? So I won't.
I think most of them are logged on and voting themselves. And so
perfect.
We should be okay there.
Okay, great. All right. Well, it looks like we've pretty much got everybody. I'm going to share the results.
Okay, lots of votes for A. Does anybody want to share why they liked A? What made you choose that?
I think it goes with the downtown village area. It's a lot of brick and concrete.
Yeah.
And if it's less maintenance, then that's probably why too we choose
Nice.
something like that.
Okay. Anyone else want to give their
I think
two
it
cents?
offers a clean look.
Sorry.
Hi, this is Andrea Ahrens. We agreed that A was the contrast in the brick with the concrete was aesthetically pleasing, and also would maybe fit with a nice vintage feel for the downtown.
Ooh, that's a great word. I'm writing that word down, vintage. Okay, anybody want to share why they liked one of the other options and just give your 2 cents so that as we develop concepts, we really are hearing from everyone.
The concrete seems very cold. A seems very warm. And with the downtown area being vintage and a lot of history, that just seems more fitting.
Mm-hmm.
D is very cold, very modern looking. And all the pavers in E seem to be very busy.
I just have a question. I just have a
ahead.
question.
Go ahead with your question.
I just have a question about the brick. I mean, I'm concerned about it being slicker than concrete.
That's not the case at
People
all.
walking. Okay, that's why I'm asking the question.
No, good
And
question.
then also how it holds up to salt in the winter. You know, when we have to salt those of us that shovel our sidewalks and salt our sidewalks, you know, how that holds up to the salt as opposed to the concrete.
The clay pavers and the concrete pavers both hold up as well as concrete. Concrete itself probably holds up a little bit less. We do a fair amount of, I'm going to call it watching streetscapes and how they are salted, and the salt can make your materials, you know, especially over salting, can make your materials fleck. But it seems like concrete is actually takes more of that, where the brick and the uniform pavers, they're both made in a factory, and so there's a lot more consistency, and we see a lot less of the chipping that we might see with concrete. So
yeah, one of the things with concrete, you're going to see a lot of spalling. You're going to see a lot of chipping that's going on with just a plain concrete, and you can't really repair that. And usually the repairs are pretty unsightly, different colors and things like that. By having a little bit of brick, that allows for a little bit of movement, and it's easy to repair a couple brick should they get spalled or should they get chipped or something like that. And as far as the salt, if you use too much salt on anything, you are going to get some spalling and some efflorescence. You'll notice most of that in the springtime when, you know, the salts have been put down and it starts drying out. But they tend to go away after a few rains and washes, and they'll go away.
Yeah.
Over by the Corner Cafe, if everybody's familiar with that area, what is that on the sidewalk? The green. Is that brick? Is that pavers?
I'm not familiar with that. I'm not.
Because
quite
to me,
sure.
that always seems slicker, than a normal concrete. And my only concern is, people walking, slipping, sliding, that type of thing.
The brick pavers are not going to be any more slick than what your concrete is going to be.
No.
When you have a stamped concrete, if you try to put finishes on that or try to put some kind of coating on that to help protect from different things in UV rays, that will become a little bit more slick. So really, clay pavers are really your best option. Those and concrete pavers, they're both going to be fine. They're used in all kind of vehicular situations and and sidewalks.
Michelle, somebody else asked about costs.
Oh, okay. So what are the costs of each, and is there a chance I would have to pay for the change? So the costs for each really vary widely. You can get a very expensive brick and you can get a very affordable brick. So so it's really hard to say how far apart your numbers can be. Generally though, concrete is the least expensive, going to concrete pavers and to brick, although concrete pavers and brick are very close to each other today, because our concrete pavers are the ones we would specify are made to be in a public setting, and so they're pretty high end, so that they last that 30, 40 or more years. So would you have to pay for it? I don't think we're talking about that at all. And maybe the mayor or Amy wants to jump in on that, but that isn't something that we've discussed. Okay. All right. I think we will go to landscape next. So you'll see a lot of other things in these streetscape photos, but landscape is what we're focusing on. So first, this is our, I would say, our gated landscape beds. So we put a little bit of an edging around them with a curb and a small fence and a variety of street trees and landscape planting areas. Secondly is more of adding pots and staying away from beds a little bit more, and really simplifying, I would say, using the pots. Third option is actually a combination of them both. So we're doing pots, and then we're doing some raised landscape beds. As you can see, this is not a fenced bed. And then D is pots with a combination of street trees that you can see that have been put in grates. A lot of your street trees today don't have grates, but they also have very small bed areas. So one of the nice things about grates is it does protect that area where the tree is at. And this is the little bit of everything. So we have landscape beds, we have hanging pots, and then we also have standalone pots as well. So this is the for the landscape that you want absolutely everything. And this pot is just, I just want to show this one. It's a little bit different in that a lot of times pots are really seen out at the edge. And this is a different where we switch and we put those pots close up to the building, and our access walkway is a little bit further out. So just another way to kind of lay those pieces out. And here we go with all 6 different images. Hopefully one of these is one that you're interested in and think might fit Peotone well for the downtown. And there's our poll.
Michelle, while we wait for people to vote, there was a question about kind of talking about saying the pictures are showing a lot more sidewalk space than we currently have in Peotone.
Yes, that's for sure. And I think what we talked about earlier, how there's really a lot of opportunity because there's so much parking. Part of that opportunity is can we lose a few spaces? And we've actually done all of this quantification for other towns and give larger pedestrian area. which is not always just pedestrian area. It also can be outdoor cafe area. It can be sitting spaces. It can make your downtown feel more welcoming. So when we go out looking for images, generally the well-done streetscapes are ones that do have a little bit wider pedestrian. So we're not saying we have to do that right now, but I think what we want you to see is how fabulous, different downtowns can be, and help us pick the right mix for Peotone.
And I guess also to add to that, what Michelle said, I think that there's a lot of opportunities, as you can see, like in picture A versus picture C, to scale stuff up and down as it fits in with your community. So, just because you like option C doesn't mean we need to have planters that are that wide. These are just kind of some initial visioning photos to help us move in the right direction.
Awesome. Thanks, Liz.
All right. Any last votes coming in, and I can share.
Want to give a 3, 2, 1?
3, 2, 1. Okay. All right. Here are our results, and looks like C1.
Yeah, although D was really close behind with the trees and the pots together. And even E got a fair amount of vote. So can anyone share maybe lobby for which one you voted for, and tell us why you think it fits?
How are the trees going to impact the sidewalks and the trees that have been downtown previously? Over the years, I've seen how they have caused sidewalks to crack, move, heave. And then also, I think depending on the type of tree, causing not litter, but leaves and so forth on the sidewalks, which, can become slick when people are walking, and my other question is, who's going to, if we do pots and trees, or just pots or just trees, is the village going to maintain those, or is it going to be the responsibility of the business owners?
Right. So generally, pots that are put out by the village are usually the village's responsibility. And that's a balance that we need to find to make sure that we don't have too many things that it's not maintainable. So it's a great question. From the tree species, a lot of study has been done on different tree species and finding that right species that works in downtown. The knowledge base is already out there. So we look for trees that have less litter, that don't, maybe have the biggest leaves, because that sycamore leaf can be slippery. So so there is a palette of trees that are better for a downtown. Additionally, they're also we can vault trees and give them a good quality soil so that they stay more in their place than maybe what you've seen 30 or 40 years ago. So there is some good technology. It doesn't make it all perfect. Trees they're still gonna be a little messy sometimes, like in fall. And so that comes with it. But the other side of trees is that downtowns with trees, people spend more money. It is a study that has been done, and I can find it. We were working on downtown Naperville. That was one of the research pieces that we pulled up, because sometimes trees are annoying, but on the other side, they make people feel welcome. They provide shade, especially in the hot summer, and people actually economically spend more money when there's trees in your downtown. So,
okay. I'd like to add, so I did not vote for any of the popular options, but I did so only because I'm not opposed to trees, but with a limited amount of space already, I see a tree being an issue, and it's specifically in D. There's no curb to stop anyone from pulling forward and into the tree. So I see that as an issue. Yeah, I didn't see, oh, it doesn't look like there's a curb, but there is, but it's
Yeah.
minimal. And with a car pulling forward, I could see if the tree is close to the curb, that being an issue. There's just so much. I mean, I think it's aesthetically, it looks more like a garden than it does a welcoming
Yeah.
sidewalk. And I do like the idea of planters, but I like them again further away from the curb and more closer to the businesses. I think it draws people in to notice the businesses, because that's essentially what we want. Is we want people to visit the downtown, but we also want them to patronize the downtown.
Okay, good comments. Anyone else want to add?
Hi, it's Scott with the Peotone Beautification Committee. I approached the village a year ago or so. Yeah, a year ago. And in regards to doing the planting and the planters and trees. And what the information that we kept receiving was that, at one time there was pots and planters and trees, but they get hit by cars. So I elected for D because I do like the wrought iron structures around the trees to protect them. I think that's a good solution for that. And then I liked Amy's idea about pulling the pots closer to the buildings, so you don't have people, and it was, people that are at the bars who are drinking a little too much, who are hitting the pots. That was what I was told from the village. So my 2 cents.
Okay, good. Anybody else want to share their thoughts on this? These are really good pieces of input.
Well, part of why I liked C was because there appears to be perennials in the bed there, which are can be at least a little less maintenance than your annuals, which looks like what's in all of your pots and which you would typically put in a pot.
Well, the nice thing about putting the annuals in the pots is you can change them out from season to season. You've got fall, spring, and then summer flowers that could be put in that.
Agreed. Those all cost money, of course.
Well, it's not going to be without costing money, because if we don't want to spend any money, you're not going to get anything. So there's going to be cost involved, and there's going to be maintenance involved, and there's going to be watering involved. But all of that is to help and beautify these areas, because all the towns that you go to that do have this, it's very inviting.
Well said.
Michelle, Chris has a really good question in the chat.
Thanks. I'm wondering if knowing the potential width of the sidewalks would alter the results. Are the choices tonight based on the current sidewalk widths? No, they're not, because as a master plan, we're looking at the whole right of way and the publicly owned pieces for the master plan. So that is to say something could change. And that's the input tonight will help us kind of know some of that. I think if we want to create some islands, but not change the width of sidewalks, we can do those on corners. There are certainly spots to do it, but in the areas where there's only 3 foot of sidewalk, it's actually not even meeting federal requirements. So there are areas that if we touch it all, we need to bring them up to at least federal standard, which is a 5 foot width. So I hope that helps answer your question. Everything's on the table right now. Maybe that's a better way to say it. Like right now, it could be, they could stay the same, except for where they don't meet federal requirements or state code. Everything could stay the same. Or what do we want it to look like? And I think that's how we got to this meeting to begin with, is what could it look like? And let's talk about that.
How about if the Second Street was changed to a one-way? That would allow you to have a lot more green space and walking space through that.
Yeah, that's for sure. That would, and it's not a super long street, but it has a lot
I
of.
got to interject there. We've had that car show for 33 years. You make it a one-way street, you lose a car show.
All right, that's good to know. All right, let's go.
And well, one of the good things about a one-way is they have to then go around the block, so they're seeing all the other businesses that are there and not going to one particular place.
Urban drove to Joliet.
Yeah.
Joliet's a disaster with
Yeah.
all the one-ways.
Yeah. I mean, I lived in Elgin. We've been to Joliet. They don't have the car show that we have for that purpose. We pack all those cars, 215 plus cars in that area, that space, by doing so, by parking on both sides of the street and then having cars drive down one way by parking on both sides of the street.
And I understand that, and I can appreciate that, but we can't redesign our whole downtown just for one car show and just be worried about just accommodating just that.
Sure. We understand that, but it is a 33-year-long car show.
I understand that, and it's wonderful. I enjoy it. I go to it all the time, but I think that it can be positioned even if that was a one-way street. But that's a whole nother conversation. It's just a thought.
And I think as designers, we need to hear the concerns both ways, because we have a lot of tools in our toolbox, and it's our job to figure out how to put those concerns together and give the streetscape design that you're looking for. So how many cars are at the car show? How does that fit? And what can we do to adjust to also give welcoming public right-of-way spaces that pedestrians can walk in and sit in? So.
And we need to create a destination that people want to come to, that they want to see, that they want to participate in, and they want to patronize.
Right. Yeah. So don't feel that you have to do this or this. You know, our goal is to look at how can we do them both and succeed. So.
And there's a couple other comments that have come in the chat. I do want to reiterate, I think somebody asks if we're considering all widths, or have we considered something? Right now, all options are on the table. We're kind of looking at just starting design, and the sidewalk width go to the property line or the building edge.
Both. In some parts of the streetscape, it goes right to the building edge, and in some places actually out from the building. Ashley would have measured 20 inches, 24 inches. It varied depending on the building, because some of them aren't quite at the same facade spot. So you actually have both in the downtown. All right, so our next one is seating, and all right, so I'll give you the highlights here. This is, I would say maybe a little bit modern, a nice metal frame with a wood slat. And then there's a combination here. We actually use planters in this photo for some extra seating as well, where plants are kind of given their own home. They get less salt spray with a design like this, but they have a kind of a dual seating space. This is a little bit more of a historic bench. Again, it's a wood frame with a metal frame with a wood slat. This also could be a recycled lumber slat. If you like the look, but you don't want the maintenance of wood, the recycled lumber can work very well and mimic wood. This is a limestone seat, so with a highlight corner. And as you can see, this also works as part of a landscape bed. In this case, it doesn't have to, it actually can be standalone. And but in either case, this, I would call it an old world limestone, its look. Here's an all metal bench in this case. This is a granite seat, and it acts as a bench and is also right at the edge of a landscape bed. And then our final one, this is the standalone stone wall, and it's a little bit still kind of charming, but maybe a little bit less old world than the other stone seat that we looked at. It has a cap with a weathered edge, and these little pieces here are actually used for skate stopping, so that the long bench doesn't become the edge of the skate rail for our recreational users of the downtown. All right, so here is our 6 different options, and we'll throw up the poll and you all can vote on which one you like.
It looks like we are doing pretty good. Got almost all the votes in. Any last minute decisions? Do a quick 3, 2, 1. Great, and there are the results.
Nice. Okay, so the B came out quite a bit ahead with its metal frame and the wood slats, but C is right behind it. And I'll just be honest with you, you could do both. We have lots of downtown streetscapes that you could have multiple different kinds of seating. So that could happen. And then we just have a few votes for A and F. And again, I just want to let anybody have a say they want to lobby for their vote or tell us why they might not like the favorite.
F seemed kind of safe for cars parking and people on the sidewalk.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I didn't think about that as a safety. Anyone else?
I thought D was low maintenance.
The all metal. Yep. I like that you all were together on not liking E. Nobody wanted E. Okay. Anyone else? All right. We're going to go on to
B. D looks a little cold to me versus B looks more welcoming. That would be my only comment on those type of benches.
Did anybody have opinion on the wood slats versus a recycled lumber slat for B?
I think either one is fine. Okay. Whichever's more durable.
Yeah. Yeah, the recycled lumber is more durable and less maintenance. So
yeah, it's not going to crack and split.
One of the problems with F is snow removal that you're going to have. When you're trying to shovel the sidewalk, you'd have to push the snow all the way to the end to get it out.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay.
Being that close to the curb, it's going to get hit.
Yeah, actually, I'll be honest with you. This is the downtown where our office, our headquarters is located in Plainfield. And it's been in about 12 years, the streetscape. And I think we've had one bench hit by a car, maybe 2. If you come down here every day for work, you notice what gets hit by a car. So it has happened. But usually it's somebody going off road. It's not somebody trying to park. They're far enough off that they don't get hit by people trying to park. All right, and speaking of parking, so as I was saying earlier, there really is an opportunity with the area along the railroad to improve that parking or maybe adjust some of the other parking. So we're gonna share some photos with you, and what we're thinking of for a lot of this is that those large parking areas that are along the railroad. So first of all, making them more green. They're very pavement heavy. And so this is actually a rain garden that it's designed to allow drainage. And so you don't have as many catch basins, and you get that water percolating into the ground, and you also get some trees. This really is showing you some edging, and this might work well on the railroad side. Might also work well on the street side to really define. Right now, the street and the parking area all seems like one big space. So we could use different things to help define that. And this is parallel parking. So this obviously would be a big change to the downtown. So if you want to consider this is one way that we can add a lot of pedestrian space. Here's a really interesting layout where people absolutely love their angle parking, did not want to get rid of it, but wanted more pedestrian space. And so using a multitude of different things, creating outdoor spaces, they did some sculpture here. They really did a combination of changing up where their parking was and adding the pedestrian space, but still keeping that angle parking that in this town they just loved. This is another green sort of, but much smaller than we saw earlier and a little bit more tight. You only get the trees on one side. The cars you can see kind of where they go over right into the landscape bed. So there's just a little bit less paving, a little bit more landscape. And here are all 5. Obviously, we could do multiple things here, but if you can help us know what you think is your favorite, what changes you'd like to see, that would be great.
Can you clarify again? Because I know at the beginning you said A was for the railroad side.
So B and E are really would be more like the parking lot and the railroad, where C and D are more the parking lots, the spaces that are on the streetscape.
So how do we vote for A and D?
Oh, that's a good question.
They're
Can
two
we do it
separate
twice?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it twice. So
Okay.
first let's vote for A, B, and E and pretend that C and D are not there.
Okay. I will launch the poll now.
So don't vote for C or D, and that way we can vote twice.
Looks like we're almost have everybody. All right, I'm going to end the polling. All right.
All right. So we still got a C in there, but A seems to be our favorites. So a little bit more of that green. We still had a good amount of votes for E and a little bit for B. Nice. Okay. Anybody want to share anything on what they were thinking, why they might really liked A better than E, or they liked E better than A? No.
I mean, I think the main thing is that A has trees. And when you look at our railroad space right now, it's just like a barren gravel pit of nothingness. So if you tell me to choose between A and E, I would probably choose A every time, but.
Okay, good.
I agree.
I was going to say the same thing.
It's kind of exciting to think of it being having
So
a different.
I find A appealing. I do. But by doing this, we will be eliminating parking. Yes, on the railroad side.
Right. Well, it needs to be laid out. The parking right now is can be laid out better. So, yes, landscape does take up space. So I'm sure there are some spaces that you would lose, but because it's really not well laid out right now, I think we're actually going to have a win when that layout's complete.
Okay, so there is a way to do it without eliminating large amounts of parking.
Yes.
Okay.
That's our goal. Okay, awesome. So now we're going to, we've got this poll memorized. Wait, do we take a picture of it, Liz? Because I know when you redo it, it disappears. You
I
did.
got it. Yep.
All right, so now let's do C and D. And here's what my suggestion is that if you really don't like C or D, you can vote for E. E will be none of the above. So this next time, vote for C, D, or E, where E is none of the above.
Yeah, do we want parallel angled. Everyone's going to say D, or they're going to say none of the above.
You're
You never know.
you know, you're foretelling. The other, I guess the other option that really isn't in here is doing parallel on one side and angled on the other. And that's a very viable layout. You don't just move one side, you move the sidewalk on both sides, but you do straight, angle on one side and straight on the other. So that also could be an option.
Which pavement area is wider, C or D?
They're about the same.
Okay.
Yeah, they're about the same. And that's kind of why we put them together, because they're equal. Yeah. So do we want to have the option of, can you all remember that if we do add another one, that it's one side parallel and one side angle? Okay, so that will be B. B will be one side parallel and one side angle. And then C and D will be as E is, and E will be don't change the streetscape. Okay.
Right.
And I'll say that.
Relaunching.
Let's go ahead and launch, and I'll say it one more time when you launch it. So don't vote for A. B is one side parallel parking and one side angle parking. C is as you see it, both sides parallel. D, adjust so that we have parking on one side and you still keep angle, but it still widens those sidewalks. And E is none of the above. I want to keep the streetscape angle parking as is.
All right. Almost. Thank you, Ashley. It's all, if you guys can't remember, we've got it in the chat as well. All right.
My concern with the car show, once again, I'm sorry to keep bringing the car show up. It's going to narrow our fire lane down immensely, which could be a problem if we have an accident or a fire or somebody getting hurt. And that's my concern with all the scenarios, is narrowing the fire lane down.
And never mind car show, aside from car show, if you widen it too much, you do have to allow for emergency vehicles.
And they are wider than a normal vehicle.
Right.
Yeah. Rod won't let us not make it safe. Okay. He's got our back when we're talking about making sure fire vehicles, ambulances, those sorts of things. We're not gonna screw with that.
Yeah, nope, exactly, Michelle. Once we get down to the construction design details, we're going to make sure all that works.
Awesome.
All right. It looks like everybody voted. I'm going to share the results, and I think you guys will be surprised.
All right. So the highest votes were for D, where we keep some angle parking on one side, but we still get wider pedestrian spaces. But there was a fair amount for C that went for all parallel. A small amount went for B, and B was our one side parallel and one side angled. And finally, well, somewhere in the middle there was don't change it. So I think you've given us a really good challenge that we're going to need to figure out how to make sure that this that feels right when we balance out all of these different answers. Anybody want to add anything else? This is a hot topic.
Is it possible to shift the parallel and angle parking scheme as you go down the street so that one side doesn't have the parallel and vice versa with the angle parking on the other side?
Yeah, that's how you this curve that you see in D, that's how that happens. You know,
Okay.
They have parallel on one side and then you go down further and the angle parking, and then you go down further and then it's on the other side. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I didn't see that, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can't, it's hard to see in the photo. I just know what it's doing. So yeah, it is possible to switch sides.
How much of a parking difference? Maybe you might want to talk about that. Like if you did an all parallel parking scheme versus one that was all, say it was angle parking and parallel parking, Would you have any idea what the parking difference, net parking loss would be in the all parallel scheme?
You know, we can figure that out, and we did that on a couple other streetscapes where there were certain blocks that really needed to be switched for safety or other reasons, or just to give that pedestrian space. So we can actually do that for every single block. I just don't know the numbers off the top of my head.
Sure.
Generally, it's not as many spaces as you would think. That's what we're always surprised at, is you don't lose as many spaces as you think. So. But we definitely will look at that and share those numbers. All right, shall we go to gateway elements? Ready for our next one here? All right, so gateway elements and defining features. So these are really design elements to help create a sense of place, a space. I believe this is downtown Frankfurt and the gateway to the Old Plank Trail, but it's also the gateway from the trail to the downtown. This is actually during their one of their festivals. Maybe it's a water feature. Maybe you want to see that beautiful water moving and the sound of the water fountain. Maybe something more modern. These are light towers. So they're metal with a polycarbonate inside, and you can actually even do them that they have different colors inside. So maybe green and red at Christmas and orange at Halloween. Well, maybe it's as simple as some banners. These are metal banners, so they don't require being changed all the time, but might be a cutout like the windmill. This is a much larger gateway, so this goes over the whole street. And I could say, welcome to Peotone. And this is another form, but something that we think of more as a defining feature, maybe at the edge, the entries at either side, and gives you a little bit of flair. And sometimes we also can add mapping to something like this that can be changed in and out. All right, there's all 6 of them.
Here comes the poll. All right. You guys are getting faster in your voting. All right, I think that is everybody. I'm gonna show everybody the results.
Right. Liking A the best, but there's a really good smattering of liking all kinds of things. And again, this is something that we're trying to get some direction from you all, but we could use multiple things. Anybody want to add something, something else they've seen, or why you liked the thing you voted for?
I like E because it would complement any overstreet lighting we might do with string lighting.
Mm-hmm. That would be cool.
I agree with that. It's a cleaner finish too.
I feel like E looks like it belongs in a mall.
Which one?
E.
E looks like a balloon. Okay.
How tall is E, Michelle, about in that picture?
From the street.
What about it?
Street. How tall or how high is that E from the street?
I would say that on the side, this is at least 14 feet here, and then it goes up a little bit higher in the center. Just based on the look.
I'm thinking there's something like.
I voted for D. This is Andrea Aarons. I voted for D. I thought, well, not with a church, but I thought local landmarks would be aesthetically pleasing, and I see them as low maintenance, not taking up a lot of space. A is really visually appealing, but we don't have anything like a specific trail or a street that's earmarked as something like that. And you know, E is very nice as well, but we are relatively small. And I didn't vote for a fountain because I see a lot of issues with the fountain and upkeep. I see it as a liability also with children and other people playing in the fountain. So I see that I'm thinking cost effective because we don't have a lot of money and we have some money to spend, but we don't have a lot of money to upkeep. So I see D as being very aesthetically pleasing, but yet low maintenance.
So I actually chose C, not that exact light feature. I just, in general, I think something to draw people to our downtown. We need something that's like Instagrammable. You would take a selfie by. I know not everyone thinks about that, but something to draw you to downtown. Just something unique that nobody else in their surrounding towns have.
Awesome. Great. We are going to go on to wayfinding. I'm going to try to go just a little bit faster because we're at 7:20 right now and we still have quite a few exciting images to look at. So wayfinding and signage obviously is helping people know where they're going. It can be pretty simple, parking this way, but even from the edge of town, like coming in and finding the downtown. So there's just different looks to that. All right, and Liz can put up our poll. How are we looking, Liz?
How about I count down? There's a couple more people. Give you guys 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. And if anybody didn't get it in and wants to let me know in the chat.
Okay.
All right.
Gee, that's nice. The Old Town District, but we still had some good votes for C and D as well. Very nice. I feel like they all have kind of a historic feel to them. Anybody want to add anything about the wayfinding? All right, we will go on to our next one is lighting enhancements. This is a little bit different than just your standard light poles. This is a gorgeous, almost art feature that's worked on in downtown Chicago. That really beautiful, and I think someone said in the last one or 2 times ago with the it's something to Instagram. It's a place to go. It's something beautiful. Something that a little bit more formal with an arch over the street, and that lighting right on the arch, or some catenary lighting that goes between poles. So not over the street in this case, but still gives you that festival feel. And this is some really fun lights that go with the trees. These are really neat lights that actually this kind of polka dot pattern is one pattern, but they have lots of other patterns. And the idea is that, yeah, you would group them together. This might be more than I do in one spot, but I think the idea of like these neat grouping spaces of lights. Or crisscross, a little bit more charming, but the back and forth lighting. You can see these can be hung from poles that are put in just for the catenary lighting. They also can be hung from light poles as long as they're designed at the same time, and they can be used as both. Right. There's your votes.
I worry about durability of just hanging straight strands like that.
So they do, today lighting manufacturers do make ones that are made to be in the outdoor public setting, hung year round. That does not mean though they don't have maintenance. They still do have maintenance, but they're a much higher quality than say something you would buy off the shelf. We're putting some just like this in a plaza in downtown Chicago, Milwaukee, actually. So F was favorites. Very nice. They are charming. And then our second was B, somewhat similar, with a good amount of votes for C. So I definitely feel that there's some strong feelings on moving in that direction of all the votes were more in the street lighting, hanging lights, than the more modern looks on E and
Question.
A and D.
I have a question for letter B. For letter B, if we decide to do festival lighting, and like if that was going down 2nd Street here, and we decided to do festival lighting, we could run strings of lights from arch to arch, correct?
And just hang them during a festival.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay, thank you.
But then still have that fun arch, year round.
Year round, correct.
Anybody else want to add anything about the lighting?
You can also get these in LED where you can change the colors, right? And these.
Yeah,
String
Mantino
lights?
has that with the LEDs and they change the color. They just did it recently. I voted C. I think it has a similar aesthetic. I did vote C though, just because once again, I see F as very, very, very attractive, but I see no parking there at all.
I do know that.
These are night shots, so I don't know.
I do know that the lighting, when you get ones that do change colors, they're probably about 4 or 5 times more expensive, and they're just really, really high, and you don't get the defined colors that you think that you're going to get by changing them. So I don't think the technology is really there. It's not worth the expense.
And I guess also on F, I think this might even be showing that lighting in an alley, but it's definitely something that could be done over a street with parking as well. So don't discount it just because this photo doesn't show parking.
Very good, great. All right, well, we'll go on to festival spaces. So one of the goals that was shared with us was that the village desired to have space designed so that at some point the streets could be closed and they would have festival space. And so these try not to get too married to this design or that design, but the overall feel and look of these designs, because if you say, well, how would you do that in our downtown? It's every downtown is different. What we're trying to do is what's the right feel for the elements that go into making that sort of festival space. So this, you can see one of the main things is that it has flexible movable furniture and as part of that, and just a feel of welcome, almost a little bit of a backyard feel. So think about that as the feel rather than so much how would we do this in Peotone, but the look of it as being sort of that backyard, fire pits, kind of movable furniture space. This one a little bit more modern and with an overhead space, lots of open space as part of it. So it adds a little bit more of a plaza look. And when you say, oh, how would we do this on our streets? Actually, numerous streetscapes have done pavers out in their streets and let people drive in certain areas. Batavia is one of them. So it's very doable. But again, look at the feel of it. Do you like the feel? And here you can see really flexible spaces. In this case, where the street is the brick, the sidewalks are concrete, but they've closed that and allowed the festival to happen. And this is more of like a Kris Kringle sort of market space where little shops get set up, and numerous towns are doing these now. So we're showing a kind of a fun, and maybe for a month, part of the downtown has this going on every weekend. And this here you can see is again another street closure where nobody is driving. There's a band set up in the corner, the catenary lighting, the whole downtown really becomes the festival space. And this one here, again, a little bit more clean, but a combination of movable furniture, as well as, having some sculpture areas. So that, this might actually take a little bit more of having some open space to be part of this. But the idea is that it has the combination of movable furniture, sculpture, and public open space where festivals can happen. So A through F, which is the feel that you really think is the best combination of pieces for Peotone? Good.
All right. A few more seconds here. Everybody.
Hi, this is Andrea Aarons while everybody's voting. So I voted for E, just straight out. But is there any perspective talk about land acquisition? Because there are empty spaces that are utilized for festivals now. They are owned, but they're dormant and sitting there and are not aesthetically appealing. So to me, making those a little park or a little area for festivals sort of thing, or a gazebo or something like that, is there any talk about that?
I think you just made the suggestion.
There's an empty lot. Everybody's familiar with it. It sits there. It's where we have the Christmas in the Village lighting of the giant Christmas tree.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great spot for a nice little park, cute little gazebo with maybe even a little band shell area. We've discussed this before. The car club uses it for our area where people check in to register their cars. So, the idea of E with that nice little park focus area where you could have music, concerts in the little park and stuff like that. Because I'm familiar with D, that's Batavia. And Batavia is like 5 times the size of us, easily, if not more. So just a thought.
Very cute though. So thank you so much. I think that was a wonderful suggestion, and it is duly noted as an idea to review and consider. It looks like E seemed to be fitting the best, but we still had some votes for A and C as well. And the little everything but F. F seemed like nobody liked. Again, good job all of you being on the same page that one's not going to work. But a little bit for B, looking for that little bit more modern look. But does anybody want to share something about how they felt, why they thought E was the best, or A? There's quite a few votes for A. Nope, these are quiet.
Well, I see A being in a little more confined space. E is very practical, and it's not a design to me. It's just closing the street, which is very practical.
Right. I mean, the one thing with E is that it does have that nice canary lighting that makes it feel like if that's the street you choose to close, it feels like a festival. So I think that's one of the elements that makes E feel like It's not just a bunch of tents we put up. It feels like it's somewhere to go. Anybody want to share why they voted for A, or how they think A should be part of Peotone? All right, well, it has been noted.
Oh, really quickly, I'll say that I did not vote for A only because I could see it being a vandalism issue.
So with A, you could, if you were looking at that, you know, if we were talking about an empty space or whatnot, so A would be that space, right?
Yeah, I would propose fixed furniture though. So non-movable pieces, just because we've had issues with movable pieces being vandalized before.
Thanks. All right, on the next area is alley highlights. There's a small area that on alley area, there's some question. It's privately owned right now, but because it really is used in a public way where people walk through it as an access and students come and take pictures, prom or homecoming, we wanted to at least address and have a discussion about it. So there's a number of different images here that you can see with street lights and furniture, making this alley that is closed with bollards, obviously, but making it a little bit more welcoming. Here's one that is complemented with outdoor seating. So maybe the restaurants or office, as well as the canary lighting, and even some litter receptacles. Another option with outdoor seating, the combination of being able to walk and sit, but then also adding some kind of mural. This is another mural, a little bit a mural, but simple in that stayed away from furniture, any kind of furnishings, just really adding some art. And this is fun with the welcome arch. That says come on into the alley, and again having seating, giving that idea with some pots. And this is a little bit more formal with a combination of brick and concrete, but still allowing for outdoor plants and seating. So again, what we're really looking at is the look of it. If you were going to enhance the alley that exists right now in downtown Peotone, what would you like to see in that space?
All right. A few more seconds to get your votes in, guys and ladies.
Okay.
All right.
Let's see. Oh, a combination. So we have B and E tying. Both of them have the lighting. Both of them have the seating. So very similar sorts of spaces. The E, the big difference is having that kind of entry arch, making it, I would say, just a little bit more welcoming to the public. Very nice. Okay. And then D, having that artwork. Does anybody want to share something else? And I'll let you know we have just one more set of photos, and then I'll let you open up to any comments, and we'll be done for the evening.
What alleyways are you speaking of?
Did you catch that, Liz?
Yeah, which alleys?
The meat locker.
It starts at Railroad.
Is there enough space to put seating in there?
Michelle, do you know how wide those are?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how wide it is, and I think it might vary a little bit, but I think there's certainly space for like seating on one side, and certainly for some lighting. It might be more of your cafe table.
Hi, this is Andrea Aarons and Todd Sandberg. Go ahead.
I really think for the alleyway, the lighting would really be inviting because it'd invite people to park on the backside of Railroad Street and walk through to the downtown businesses. nobody really likes to walk through a dark alley. I mean, I don't know if we really need the arches because once again, it goes into money, but lighting would be a good thing back there or in there.
Nice.
What business is going to use that alley besides the bars there?
The photography studio.
Yeah, she uses it all the time.
She uses it for all of her pictures mostly.
Yeah, I know that she uses it a lot, but she uses it a lot during the daytime. Who's going to use it at nighttime?
But now you open it up to the evening.
Yeah.
And now this increases revenue for her.
Right.
Very good. Yeah. Okay, awesome. All right, so we have one more set of pictures, and these, I guess they're design elements. Numerous ideas have come up through our early meetings and walking around the downtown. And so we wanted to just give you a few other ideas that could be part of the overall downtown master plan. So one was adding some kind of train themed play space. The train is omnipresent as going through the downtown. So how about highlighting it with a nice small space? And then again, I think we had this in the parking, but there's other ways to use this, directing people at the edge of spaces, just adding another ornamental fence space with wall. This is a shelter that has a little bit of a railroad feel to it. So again, it could be a meeting spot for downtown, somewhere else to sit and have your ice cream. And just beautiful painted murals can really highlight history, all kinds of different things. We've seen them go up in numerous downtowns. So is that something that Peotone wants to see? And we could get all crazy and actually paint crosswalks a really different way. You could be the envy of of Will County with rainbow colored or polka dotted. We've actually seen some really fun different ones. And then just outdoor spaces with seating. So this could be maybe that space that is not currently owned by the village, but becomes a public space in a park and has more, these are game tables here. They can also be used as picnic tables, but just that idea of having some kind of plaza that's bigger than just the width of the streetscape sidewalk, but set aside for outdoor public use.
Michelle?
Yeah.
This is Mayor March. So before everybody votes, that C was actually supposed to be a train spotting platform. So many small towns next to railroads have these train spotting platforms that are actually 2-story high. And it brings in a lot of people into the town for not very much money to attract them. So that's just the idea there.
Oh, thanks, Mayor. That's great. All right, Liz, you want to put up our survey?
Could you not do a mural with something else as well?
Certainly. This is one of those things that you could certainly have more than one. I think our goal is just to hear what do you think is the most important in any project. There's never an unending budget. So we always try to help at the beginning is looking at what seems to be the most important or what's a priority or more people are interested in.
This is Andrea Herons. I like the idea of murals, but I also like the idea of murals coming from local art students. Murals can easily be done by really talented individuals from the community.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think the murals look really good, but the problem is you're going to invite and you'll have some vandalism done to that. And then how does that get repaired? And it becomes an ongoing maintenance issue.
I see that. I also like C, but with an option of a metal structure. Again, lower maintenance, upkeep, etc. A little more permanent. We've seen metal gazebos lots of places, and they weather well.
Everybody, how's the voting look there, Liz?
Yep, I will share the results.
Awesome. Lots of people like the train spotting shelter. That's great. But we had a good number of votes for an outdoor plaza space as well, and then a couple for the kids area and the mural. So much less for the rainbow crosswalk. So did anybody want to add something on the on why you like something, or maybe a combination? You'd like to see a combination of items.
I like the shelter because obviously it's a gathering spot. You can put a band in there. You can do lots of things with a shelter like that.
Anybody else?
Is the intent behind the shelter in that along the railroad, or is this just in general?
No, the idea that it would be along the railroad, so it'd be somewhere for you to be able to sit
What are the
inside.
limitations for, I mean, you're saying this is space you lease from the railroad? Is there, what limitations are there in doing something like this?
Yeah, I haven't read the lease, so I'm not sure.
I actually like the shelter in that spot that I talked about, that empty lot that sits right there with the Christmas tree and where they do the Christmas tree in the village. I think it'd be a great focal point for that area. And it once again brings back that little park feel. And it would be conducive to the layout, and it wouldn't affect, it'd be a nice spot for people to gather, especially after they frequent businesses and stuff. But again, that's that lot and it is owned, so it would require some sort of land acquisition for that.
I agree, Andrea. That's very nice.
I just think in terms of like businesses, how fun or how great would it be to like go to Archie's and get some ice cream and then go sit in the nice train sort of focal point in that park. Then when we do the Christmas in the village there, that would be fabulous. It'd be conducive to the car show, but it would be conducive to like concerts, the downtown area. There's just so many things you could do with it on that lot.
Right, and like I said, you could put a band in there once or twice a month in the summertime. I mean, there's several things that can be used for, especially on that corner.
Yeah, the choir sings downtown. The choir and the show choir, they sing downtown for Christmas. What a great spot to put them there.
While all these events are all wonderful and great, they only happen like 1 or 2 times a year, but something like where you have a destination for families that isn't bars, and like in Mantino, people will like travel to go visit their Square on 2nd, visit the little place, get some ice cream down, walk the shops, that sort of thing.
Change playground for the kids.
Yeah.
I voted for that.
Okay, good. Anyone else want to add anything? This is really great input. All right, so I'm gonna just open it up to any other comments, something else that maybe we didn't address already this evening that you want to share?
I was going to say, what's the current status on the depot in town here?
Michelle, we got, this is Jim Butler from the Legion. He just joined us later. So he's commenting about the depot, and I assume you mean this building over here.
It currently exists.
Yeah, so it's owned by the railroad.
Oh, it's based on
The building. The property is owned unless the railroad bought it back from the last owner. That building has had several owners over the years. Property belongs to the railroad, but not the building. So has a current owner right now.
Do you have that information?
I don't think that's, unless it's been sold again.
Owner was
bought
it
back taxes on that building, and the people that were in there were the antique shop. Walked away from it because they weren't going to pay those back taxes. Maybe that's where it's at. I would say the railroad is.
What would be the feasibility of moving it over, taking the depot and buying it from the railroad, donate it, and they could put that right in that empty lot there?
What do you think about making the downtown street one way?
Anybody have anything else before we wrap this up? We're kind of going over our
Sidewalks
time.
bigger.
Thanks, Mayor. All right. The last thing I just want to put out there is that right now we are scheduling our next kind of large public meeting for March 1st at 6 p.m. So we'll be putting out some flyers. It'll be on Facebook. So keep an eye out for that. And that will be more of a webinar style meeting where anyone in town can join. We won't have as much of a discussion like we did tonight. It'll be more of voting though. And we're really hoping that we have a large group attend. The CMAP has given us some good input from work they've already been doing with Peotone. And one of their top comments was that this is a village of people that want to be involved, that want to have a say. So we're really hoping to be able to get a lot of people to come out to that March 1st meeting. So that's our next event, and mark it on your calendars. Do you want to close anything else out, Amy or Mayor March?
Say it again, Mayor.
Yeah, just I want to thank you for joining us. Thanks everybody for their input. And I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn the village board meeting.
Motion.
Second.
Been moved by trustee Sluse, second by trustee Jones. Sluse.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Bowden.
Yes.
I think so.
All right. Thanks for all the input, and thanks Michelle and your group. And we look forward to what's coming up next. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, everyone.